Shadows fall, dimming the light. Whispers grow, a rising tide. Vindicator, where do you hide? Steel is over, heart ablaze. Through smoky haze, he sets his gaze. Justice calls a burning need. A city's wounds he vows to heed. From cobbled streets to tower high, Vindicator takes to the sky. Strikes back with iron hands, defender of this promised land. Breaks the chains, sets spirits free. Vindicator for all to see. Seek high! Seek high! Seek high! Whispers turn to thunderous roar.
Right, time to launch you into orbit. Wait!
Slams the door.
There he goes.
Grasping hand, he fights for freedom, takes a stand with courage born of darkest night. He ignites hope, a guiding light. Strikes back with iron hands, defender of this promised land. Breaks the chains, sets spirits free. Vindicator for all to see. Though battles rage and darkness reigns, hope's ember burns within his veins. He'll never yield, he'll never fall. He answers freedom's clarion call. Strikes back with iron hands, defender of this promised land. Breaks the chains, sets spirits free. Vindicator for all to see. A symbol etched against the moon. Vindicator rising soon.
Hello, everybody. How you all doing? So this was a completely unplanned live stream today. I wasn't planning to do one today at all. Just had a bit of spare time, so I thought I'd do it. I can't do one tomorrow, which is the usual time we do it. Do it on a Thursday. I've got an appointment in town tomorrow, so I can't do a live stream tomorrow. So I thought I'd do one today because I've not done one in a long time. Since last week, used to do 2 or 3 a week at one point. Been cutting back lately. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing, mate? I've just had to ban somebody from the chat because they were dropping inappropriate comments in the chat. I knew where it was going, so I removed them. Right. Like I said, this is completely impromptu. I wasn't planning to do this today. Yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. Doing really well. How are you? How are all of you? All 20 people watching. Hope you're doing really, really well. Hope you're having a good day. It's actually brightened up a little bit here. It's stopped. It was raining earlier this morning. It's actually brightened up. It's looking a bit like spring out there. How you doing, Nathan? How you doing, mate? I like to vary these stream times as well when I do these Vindicator Strikes Back live streams. Try and catch a different audience every time so we can get different people to come into the chat and stuff. Hello, how you doing? Right, so how are you all feeling at the minute? How do you feel about the fact that Starmer is still in number 10 after everything that's actually happened? Watch Neil Oliver's latest video, RE Airport Travel. I will do. Pouring down here, looking forward to seeing the daffodils. Me too. You know what? I've not seen any any snowdrops this year. Usually you see snowdrops first, don't you? Nothing this time of year. Right, let's Let's have a look. The reason I'm doing the live stream is because I've got loads of stories that I want to get through. And obviously I didn't do a morning walk video this morning for obvious reasons. I apologise for everybody for not responding to comments, but I kind of want to leave that video as a memorial. So I'm just taking the people that are commenting on there, you know, I'm leaving that as like that sort of thing. It's not about me, it's about them. So yeah. Plenty of snowdrops in Derby. Not a one round here. I don't think it matters who runs Labour. All opinions are awful. Yeah, I agree. It almost feels like spring today in Eversford. And yes, we have snowdrops out. Not seen any around here. It's a bit strange. Right, let's have a look. I don't know if Tom's about. I know Tom did a live stream about an hour ago. I sent him a message before I went live to see if he was knocking about, see if he wanted to come in and have a chat, but I don't know what he's doing. He may come in later. I don't know. He's knocking about. He's not responding to my comments, so he's probably winding down after his live stream, which is understandable. Whether Storm is in or out makes no difference. There is a queue a mile long waiting to take his place. All the WEF apprentices, yep. And I've said this in my videos that if Starmer does go, it's just going to be a steady decline of ever decreasing worse people to take over from him. I mean, look at what we could get. We could get we could get Miliband as Prime Minister. He's the hot favourite. Miliband is a hot favourite, which shows you how much of a crop they have to choose from. And obviously David Lammy would be, they'd all be a disaster. All of them. Not a one of them would be of any benefit to the country. None of them. So there's a few stories I want to cover. That I don't know if I'm sharing screen yet. I think I'm sharing it. We'll get into that in a bit. There's a few things I'm interested in. Trying to find this story here first.
So,
right, so if that is sharing, is that actually sharing? Yeah, it's sharing. In a way, I don't want him gone. The other opinions are dire. The thing is, though, for the Labour Party to be truly gone from government, the first domino has to fall, and that first domino has to be Keir Starmer. Because once he's gone, the others won't last long in power because they're completely incompetent. That's what will happen. They'll just get worse and worse and worse till eventually the government just collapses. That's what should happen. Could you imagine Rayner or Miliband as PM? Unfortunately, I can. There isn't a Labour PM that I want run the country. No. You know what? There isn't a Conservative one I want run the country. There's nobody in Parliament apart from Rupert Lowe that I would trust to run the country in the way that we want it to be run. And that's the truth. I think he's the only person in there that would do the things that we want to get done. That's it. That's a good point. Don't interrupt your enemy while they're making mistakes. Right, so we're going to have a look at this. So this is about auditors. So it seems the Metropolitan Police appear to be planning to classify auditors as protesters going forward in order to crack down on so-called protesters with cameras. So this is just an attack on free speech. But I have to say this. We'll watch it first and then I'll give you my opinion.
we recently met with the Greater Manchester Police, and they talked about the new phenomena of auditors in protests. And is this something that you are having to deal with in London, and is it requiring a new policing method?
Yeah, so yes, I mean we do the vast majority of protest policing, and so we get a lot of that. So I want to be careful that my answer doesn't imply something. I'll say something very clearly up front. If somebody wants to film something an officer's doing in the street, that's okay. We've got nothing to hide, but do it at a respectful distance. Don't Don't try and telescope yourself into the situation and make it hard for the officer to deal with. That's the thing that is very difficult for officers. And
Right, I've got to interject here, right? From what I've seen of auditors, right, and there are two distinct groups in this. There are auditors, and then there are citizen journalists in this. And I have seen auditors that are really bad, and I've seen police officers that are really bad, where people are stood at a distance, but the police officers want to interject themselves into the situation by telling the person filming from a distance to move away. I've seen that. We've all seen that in videos. And then on the other hand, you do have the auditors that are too aggressive, that do try to get in the police officer's face while he's trying to do his job. It happens all the time. There's no one side that's not guilty in that. I think we can all accept that. That's the truth. Are there bad police officers? Yes, there are. Are there auditors that take it too far? Of course there are. We know there are. We've seen it. I just want to make that clear, though.
Auditors, so we've got protesters turning up and saying, I'm an auditor, as if it's some legal office, and therefore you can't deal with me as a protester. Well, you're still on this protest, whether you've got a camera in.
No, this is a distinction we need to make, right? And people need to make this distinction now, including auditors. You're either an auditor or you're a citizen journalist. And I've said this before, because this is what it's leading to. If you class yourself as an auditor, they'll class you as a protester. If you say you're a citizen journalist, then you are protected under Section 17 of the Public Order Act, which gives journalists the right to basically report on a protest. This is what they're trying to stop. This is why he's calling them auditors and not citizen journalists. But I'm not saying that the police are all at fault here. I'm saying that auditors are at fault here as well, and some citizen journalists that have pushed it to this point where they have crossed the line. I can see fault on both sides of this, because what we've had in the past are we had auditors that were just out in the towns, just walk around the towns, protecting the right to do photography in public. And we all saw it in the very beginning of the auditor movement. There are very few of them. They go around town centres and they walk around photographing buildings and stuff like that. And occasionally they get people coming up to them and saying, you can't photograph me, you can't. And then the auditor would state the law and say, you have no right to privacy in public. I'm doing a perfectly lawful act. And that was good. That was good because that was educating people. That was getting it out there. That was protecting people's rights. Then what happened was there was a sudden explosion in auditors. Suddenly they found out you could make some money out of it, and then everybody was doing it. And what happened then was you found out that the one-upmanship came into things. So now it's not just about going around a town centre protecting people's rights to photography. Now you've got these people outside army bases, outside businesses, industrial estates, and they're doing it for clicks. They're not doing it to protect people's rights for photography. They're doing it to goad people and to get them reactions so they can get clicks on their videos. And most of them would be honest about that. They would say, yes, that's why we're doing it. But unfortunately, because of that, that gives our enemies ammunition to do this sort of thing, to clamp down on the people that are legitimately trying to report on protests, not just there to cause aggravation and get in people's faces, to cause and escalate a situation so they get clicks on their videos. Because that's the fact of the matter. Nobody wants to watch a video where an auditor just films a protest. You've got the rubberneckers, you've got the people who like drama. They want to see some kind of altercation within the video. And this is where you get the one-upsmanship coming in. Now, first, it was good enough just to film and find out where illegal immigrant hotels were. That's fair enough. Then somebody had to take it, and this was legitimate. Somebody actually went inside and filmed inside to show us all what was actually going on inside these things. Great, fantastic. But then the one-upsmanship came in. Once we've seen one, we know. Once you've seen one inside one illegal immigrant hotel, you know exactly what they're like. So from that point on, the only thing that the public needs to know is where they are in their local area, so they can be aware of them. But no, now we've got people that have to storm into illegal immigrant hotels, not because it's the public interest, but it's because they want massive amounts of clicks on their videos, and clicks means revenue. And you can't tell me that what I'm saying isn't right. It is. And that's fair enough. I've got nothing against them doing that, but they have to take some kind of responsibility for this clampdown on others as well. This was inevitable. They weren't going to be able to get away with what they were doing. I was predicting that they were going to do something else. I was suggesting that they would most likely put a cordon round illegal immigrant hotels, like they did with the abortion clinics. So anybody entering into that zone and trying to do protest or film will be subject to arrest. That's what I thought they would do. But now they're just going to classify anybody with a camera at a protest as a protester, which is, I mean, they were supposedly trying to protect people's rights, but in doing the things that they've done, they've actually destroyed people's rights, because now you've given the police an excuse to just call you an auditor and say, well, you're not a journalist, you're an auditor, and now I'm treating you as a protester. Whereas if you'd have called yourself a citizen journalist, you would have been protected under the law. And many of them actually have. They call themselves auditors in their channel names, which is why I advised them months ago to change tact and call themselves citizen journalists, because I saw something like this on the horizon. Hey, Tina. The right-minded seem to seen as terrorists. They will take Section 17 away soon, then or amend it to suit their agenda. Yeah, definitely. It's what they do. It's called moving the goalposts. Yes. Look how the fat citizen journalists have come in the last few years. I believe them before the MSA all along. Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong. There are some genuine citizen journalists in there. But I know myself because I've been among them and I've heard them off camera what they've said. And they don't give a toss about the movement, about patriots or anything like that. When you hear them off camera, all they talk about is money and how many clicks they can get on a video. That's it. They don't give a toss about anything else. That's just fact.
In your hand or not is irrelevant, and so that is another part of the challenge. And then they will put edited clips online to try and mispresent officers' action. So we've had to remodel our approach to social media and communications to try and get much more agile and dynamic to deal with that.
Yeah. The thing is with that, and this is me defending auditors and citizen journalists, a lot of these people live stream. So they stream it live. So everything that you're seeing through that camera is live at the moment. They don't edit clips. You can literally go to a live stream and watch literally 8 hours of a protest from start to finish. And you can see everything in detail. Everything is in context. So he's not right about that at all.
Candidly, getting the facts very quickly in the middle of an operation is very difficult, but we've got much better at that and making more assertive. That's not true. We did this. This is why we did it. All those sorts of things, and putting out.
Yeah, and we've seen constantly video footage coming out to disprove what you've said because you've tried to twist a narrative, and because the auditors have been there for the full protest and live stream the whole event, we can disprove your claim to be stating facts.
Putting out the whole video of an incident from officers' body worn rather than a clipped one, but it is it's a great challenge for officers to be wrestling with. I've just got my numbers here. Yes, it's going to be north of 500 by the time we get to the end of this financial year. We're at 416 as we came to this year, and we're heading towards probably being about 75,000 shifts by the end of the financial year, which is probably total cost of that 40 or 50 million. And that's 40 or 50 million of policing that's not policing communities, the point Margaret made earlier.
We've only got a few minutes.
It's actually laughable, that, isn't it? He's saying it's a drain on resources, right? But how many of you out there, right, have phoned the police because of an incident and they've never turned up, never bothered to turn up? And this was before the protests. Before all the auditors. What was the average time of a police officer arriving at your door because something happened? I know myself. I work security in town centres all over Derbyshire. And I've had shoplifters. I've rang the police because I've detained somebody. They've never come. I've had to release the person. Never come. And they claim it's lack of resources. It's draining resources. They're a joke. Absolute joke.
It's left, and we do want to cover off just policing of football because we've obviously been doing some work.
So that was that. So basically the police are going to try and classify auditors as protesters. So my advice to all you auditors out there is to change your channel names immediately to citizen journalists instead of having auditor in the name of your channel, because otherwise they're going to clamp down on you and they're going to look at your channel. They're going to see that you call yourself an auditor. Now you're classed as a protester. Now you can't move freely around the protest. That's what they're going to do with that.
So we recently met with the Greater Manchester Police, and they talked about the new
Well, that's playing. So look at some of the chat. That's what it's all about. They don't want to be watched, is the part and parcel of all this. Look at the protest that I did in Sheffield when we were catching the police officers using, let's say, more than reasonable force on protesters. That's what they want to clamp down. That's what they don't want to happen. They don't want people videoing them brutalizing innocent people. That's what it's all about. And unfortunately, I know you don't like this, but some of the auditors out there, not all of them, there are some really decent auditors out there. There's some really decent citizen journalists out there. But there's that tiny element within those communities that push it too far, that have brought this about. So as much as I'm blaming the police, some of the responsibility has to be put on the auditors as well. That's all I'm saying. Afternoon, they're all corrupt, no confidence in the police. Thought, no, 100%. But like I said, some auditors, some citizen journalists played straight into the hands of the police with their actions and what they're doing. I've seen it myself. I've seen it myself while I've been out there, when I've been at protests. I've seen some auditors, instead of de-escalating the situation, escalating it for clicks, where they could have just walked away and left the situation, but they didn't. They carried on. And in all fairness, the police, they gave them an opportunity not to escalate, and they still continue to escalate the situation. And that's the thing you don't see. Yeah, true. Often they're live streaming. That can't lie. They all live stream. I don't think there's many of them that actually video the protest. And the only thing they clip is they will clip an incident so people don't have to watch the whole live stream. They'll turn their live stream into individual videos like I've done. But if you want to go and see the whole thing in context, you just go and watch the live stream. So what Rowley was saying there is absolute rubbish. Yep, they want to silence anyone that has an opposing voice. And bearing that in mind, people need to take that in consideration and not play into the hands of the police and give them this sort of ammunition to throw at them. Right, stop sharing that. We'll have a look and see what else we've got. All right, so this one's, I was going to cover this the other day. This one's the World Economic Forum. Going to a completely different subject now. Well, this is the World Economic Forum. This is just a general chat today, guys. There's no specific subject. This is just me. This is just a straight talking part of the channel sort of thing. So any subject goes today. If you've got anything that you want me to talk about, I'll talk about it. I'm trying to get through lots of these stories, though, because there's some that have been niggling me. There's some that just didn't make it into the morning walk videos because they were either too long or I had more important things to talk about. But this here, so we'll read this and then we'll listen to this absolute nut job herself. So this is from Right Angle News Network. Breaking, a clip of CEO Lindsay Hooper at the World Economic Forum is resurfacing where she claims water, soil and air shouldn't be free, arguing people should pay for basic resources. And this is a quote apparently. The stories of having to pay for breath of air will soon no longer be jokes. There's only one answer. And these are the people that are advising our governments, by the way. These are the people that are advising. So when we see these batshit crazy policies coming through, it's these people that are doing it. Let's listen to what she's got to say.
When we talk about capital, we tend to think only about financial capital, about cash, financial assets, but we know that's not the only value on which our economies depend. We know that every aspect of every part of the economy is fundamentally dependent on nature, as you highlighted. The air that we breathe, the water we drink, the soil, the oceans that we need for the food that we need to consume, the minerals that we need as inputs to technology and to infrastructure. And without these forms of value, these forms of natural capital, we won't have economies. They are the fundamental building blocks of our economies. But the ways, as you said, the ways in which we have grown our economies, our models of economic development, have been incredibly successful for global prosperity. But the unintended consequences of current models of growth are simply not sustainable on a finite planet. The amount of resource that we are drawing into our economies, Earth's resources, and the amount of pollution and waste that we're pumping out, whether that's through greenhouse gas emissions, whether that's sewage into our water, whether it's plastics into the ocean, is beyond the Earth's carrying capacity. And we know that that's leading, as you said, to very significant direct impacts for society, but very significant financial costs for the economy.
That's enough of her. And, you know, she'll be one of these sort of people that's jetted out to the World Economic Forum on her own private jet. But yet she's talking about the environment like they all do. They're all the biggest hypocrites on the planet, aren't they? They just want us plebs living in a little bubble that they can control. That's all they want. Water we pay for, can't get any more basic than that. Yeah, and apparently they want us to pay for air as well, though. But I guess some people are paying for the air. If you look at you, Les, technically that is paying for air, isn't it? Because they're saying that you're polluting it, so therefore you've got to pay a tax. So yeah, pay for air. Imagine having to hold your breath until payday. They're insane. We know they're insane. These people are crazy. Just go and have a look at the World Economic Forum website and some of the things that they said in past conferences, and why anybody takes these people seriously is beyond me. They're absolutely insane. They're evil as well. Some of the things they're saying. They've actually advocated for eugenics. They've advocated for world depopulation. They're insane. They're crazy people. It's the female version of Ed Miliband. Yeah, Crag, definitely. So I think we've seen enough of her. As I said, it wasn't good enough to put in a morning walk video, but I thought it might be interesting just to see what people are talking about. These must all wiping out the rainforest to build their private jet runways. Yeah. It's all hypocrisy. They're poisoning the air with water, air and water every day. Yep. King Charles has a lot to say on that forum. Slippery entity he is. Have you seen the advert on YouTube that he's doing? I think it's a Channel 4 documentary that he's taken part in. Yeah. You will see 666 right through the O's in the World Economic Forum logo. Yep. Right, let's have a look at something else. So as we know at the minute, Rupert Lowe is, just going to check if that is sharing. Yeah, it's sharing. I'll enlarge that a little bit for people that can't see it, just in case. There we go. So if you don't know, Rupert Lowe at the minute, he's conducting a inquiry into the historic assaults that took place on young English girls all around the country at the minute. And he had to say this: the Muslim Council of Britain, why have we got a Muslim Council of Britain? That's what I'd like to know. Why do we need a Muslim Council of Britain? Why do they have to have any sort of authority? But I digress. The Muslim Council of Britain has stated that certain findings from our, you know what that word is, the sexual assault gang inquiry are Islamophobic. Well, of course they are. That's the only thing they can come up with to defend themselves. The fact that a disproportionate amount of Muslims are committing these crimes, of course they're going to find that problematic, because that paints them in a bad light. That's something they can't argue against, isn't it? And apparently today, I think Rupert today, he's speaking again. I think it's in a committee, and he's going to be talking about the people who are involved in it and the demographics that are actually involved in this heinous crime. So that is really going to put a cat amongst the pigeons today, isn't it? Really, they're really going to kick off about that when they find out that it's predominantly Pakistani Muslim men that have been doing this. They're definitely not going to be happy with that, are they? There's some of these things that I can't show that I looked at them and I thought, this is interesting as well. Is that sharing? Right, so Zelensky has appeared, President Zelensky of Ukraine has popped up in the Epstein files, allegedly. And what a surprise, Zelensky is implicated in child trafficking. Who would have thought that? Not our intelligence services, MI5 and MI6, that's for sure. So it says, wow, Ukrainian President Zelensky is listed as a child trafficker in the Epstein files. I'm not surprised. Are you? Since we've heard horror stories about kids being disappeared in Ukraine. Makes sense, doesn't it? And we've got this from Andrew, who is he anyway? Who was this guy? That's who he is. Right, so he said this, Epstein files reveal audio alleging gigantic consultory sums paid to UK's ex-Prime Minister Tony Blair. Something interesting revelations. That doesn't surprise me. He's got his dirty little finger in everything, that guy, hasn't he? War criminal. Oh, this is something else interesting as well. Breaking. Police in India have arrested 11 individuals accused of distributing more than 100,000 fake university degrees in fields such as medicine, nursing, and engineering. So all these foreigners that we're getting to this country, you know, the ones that are flooding the NHS, you know, the ones that the Labour Party and the leftists say that we can't do without, it's probably a good chance that majority of them have fake degrees. Let that sink in. I mean, we know already, there's already been cases in this country of people being fired by the NHS because it turns out their degree is fake. And now we find out there'll be more than this, by the way. There'll be loads of gangs doing this in India, providing these fake university degrees. And this is who we've allowed in. Because we have a shortage, apparently, of labour and skills, we let these people in. And they take up positions when, in reality, maybe some of them shouldn't even be in those positions. What do you think to that, chat? There should be no Muslim Council of Britain. It's the biggest threat of Western democracy. Totally agree. Can't disagree with that. There should be. Yeah. Why did the NHA employ 2,000 scientists? Then the injection arrived. Yes. Outrageous. From my experience in the NHS, I believe it. It's the biggest money pit that we have in this country. It's the country's biggest employer, the NHS, and it's also the country's biggest money pit. If we really wanted to save money, all we would have to do is get rid of all the managers from the NHS and return it to its old system of there being matrons on the ward that run the wards, get rid of all the managers and have matrons that report directly to head doctors. You'd find that the wards would be cleaner, staff, that the whole system would be a lot more efficient than they have right now. There are just way too many managers. Why do we need diversity managers in the NHS? We don't need them at all. Get rid. We don't need them. And I bet half of the managers that are actually in the NHS, it's just a cushy job. Most of them go to work and just put their feet up on the desk and don't do anything all day. Meanwhile, you're waiting 6 months for an appointment to see if you've got stage 4 cancer or not. And by the time your appointment comes round, it's probably too late. All because of complete mismanagement of the NHS. You don't improve something by keep pouring money into it. What you do is you cut the fat and you see where you can save and where you can be more efficient. And that's what governments have done for decades. Instead of like actually solving the problem of the NHS, they've just decided just to pour more money into it, as if that's some kind of solution. It's not, because all that does is the money just goes straight down the drain. It will just be wasted. I can imagine there's massive amounts of wastage within the NHS. I mean, there was a story a few years back that they spent 50,000 on LGBTQ flags for desks in hospitals. There's no need to spend the money on that. It's just they do it because they know that if they don't spend their whole budget, then they won't get all their budget the next year. It's like councils. That's why at a certain time of the year you'll see all the roadworks, because you'll find that they've got too much money left over. And if they don't spend it, they won't get the budget next year. So what they do is they go out and say, right, go and repair all the roads. We'll spend the money on repairing roads. And that's what they do. That's why round about probably before April, you'll start to see lots of roadworks popping up in your local towns and cities. And that's why. They won't give nurses overtime, but I know a nurse that gets 170 quid for an 8-hour agency shift. No money, my eye, yeah. Half the equipment in hospitals is rented, apparently, not owned. Crazy. DEI is all part of the multicultural experiment. Yes, it's just racism. It's just discrimination. That's all DEI is. It's discrimination. When they say they want more diversity in certain jobs, what they're really saying is they want less of a certain amount of people in that job. And they dress it up as progressivism, and it's not. Because in order to be diversity, that means somebody somewhere has to be excluded. And that's not diversity, is it? If you enact policies within your company that exclude certain people because you want your company to be more diverse, that's not equality, is it? That's the opposite of equality. That's discrimination. And that's all DEI policy is. It's discrimination dressed up as some kind of progressive movement. It's not. It's not at all. It's actually racism. It's discrimination and it's racism, because what you're actually doing is you're picking people on race and skin color. And you're saying, we've got too many people with this skin color in our business. Let's get rid of a few and bring a few more people of some other skin color in. It's racism. If you are judging and excluding people solely based on their ethnicity and their skin color, that is racism. And we all know what they're being racist against. It's white people. So wherever you hear that the term diversity, just think racism, because that's what they're really saying. It's like diversity is our strength. And in reality, what they're really saying is racism is our strength. That's exactly what they're saying. Yet you have to cut through the spin and bullshit that the government just throws out there. Everything is dressed up to make it sound cuddly and fluffy. But when you look beneath it, it's really not. It's like the online safety bill. On the surface, they call it, the online safety bill. It's not the online safety bill at all. What it should be called, and what it really is the Online Suppression Act. The Online Suppression of Speech Act. That's what it should be called. They dress it up. You know, was it President Reagan who said this? You know, beware of a government that comes to you and tells you it's for your safety. If a government tells you that, you run. It's all dressed up. It's all flim flam. It's all spin to make it sound like it's cute and cuddly, but really it's just taking your rights away. NHS prefer to use bank agency workers, no pensions to pay their future, slippery government. Yeah, it's the same. When I was working security for Tesco, I'll mention them because it's been a few years since I've worked for them now. So I think any kind of NDAs expired. But when I was working for Tesco, the majority of their workers were part-time staff, right? So what they do is, instead of like just giving a full 8-hour shift to somebody and give them, 35 hours a week and then overtime if they want it, they just have lots of shifts. They probably have 3 shifts and 4 shifts. So 4-hour shifts. So if somebody come in, do 4 hours, they go home, somebody come in, take them over. So they divide a shift, a normal shift up between 2 people. Now you've got 2 part-time workers. Now you don't have to pay them the full amount of holidays, or you don't have to pay them for, I think it's, they got around from paying them sick leave and stuff like that. And so what would happen is, because they're only getting a 4-hour shift a week, they weren't earning enough money to pay the rent, to pay the bills. So now they're on universal credit. Universal credit tops up their wages. That's what they were doing. The majority of people that I talked to at that particular Tesco, it wasn't just that particular Tesco, this was the standard practice throughout all of them. They were all on universal credit. So not everybody that's on universal credit is a scrounger. They're just part-time workers that gets topped up by universal credit. And the governments have been allowing companies to get away with this. Instead of turning around and saying, no, you're not going to do that anymore. You can't do that. You've got to give a person, if an 8-hour shift is available, you have to give it to one person. You can't just split it between 2 people. That's how Tesco have been fleecing the system for a very long time, and now they've been making massive profits because they don't have to pay people the full holiday entitlement or sick pay. It's disgusting. Right, so illusion, yeah. Right, let's go. I think we've done with that story, haven't we? Don't think we need to see any more of that. Right, so if you don't know, today, was it today? Today in Canada, there was a shooting. I don't really talk about these issues. I don't talk about trans rights and all that kind of stuff, because to me, it's just a distraction. The only time I'll talk about is when we have situations like this, where we have governments doing batshit crazy things. Instead of tackling the issue head on, they do stuff like this. So let's see, Alec Lance, breaking, trans shooter opens fire in Canada, 10 dead, 25 plus wounded. Police are so terrified of misgendering, they're calling the suspect a gun person instead of gunman. This is peak insanity. This is where we're at now.
That includes the deceased gun person.
Okay. And then separately, do you know the gun person's relationship?
Even the interviewer, gun person. I think at one point they actually called the gunman, what was it? A woman in a dress. It was a woman in a dress. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Sky were calling him female. This is where we're at, isn't it? This is where we're at. You know what? The person who posted this is correct. I'll get this on screen. The person who posted this is right, because this is what my mind's like 99.9% of the time when I'm just going through life at the minute. This is what my brain is like when I look at the news or I'm hearing people speak and that sort of thing. My brain is just saying no. It's like from when I wake up in the morning to when I go to sleep at night. This is what my head's like. This is what the world looks like to me. That my bullshit detector is well into the red constantly throughout the day when people start talking, especially politicians, especially people on the left. It's just constantly this. I'm surprised it's not worn out by now. My internal bullshit detector is going to need replacing soon. It really is. How many of you have got an internal bullshit detector? Yeah, man in a dress, yes. Then a friend of mine is a manager at Tesco's. Yeah. That gay-looking PM was boasting about how many jobs been filled. The figure was ridiculous, around 250,000. I assume all the time they've been in rural. Okay. My granddad used to warn us kids about. Yeah, I can't even use that. 250,000 people gaining work in the UK. Get more people at football stadiums. Yeah. I'm telling you now, right? There's going to be a big shock in this country after April because Rachel from accounts policies are going to kick in. All those policies where she's basically going to wreck business. Businesses are just going to fold. I mean, I covered a story on a live stream the other day about 16,000 jobs being shed from Amazon warehouses across the country. Now they're blaming AI, but I think it's a preemptive strike because they know what's coming. They're preparing. They're automatically shedding staff because they know they're not going to be able to weather the storm. So Rachel from accounts, she's raised national insurance for employers on employees. Energy prices are going to go through the roof. She's raising business tax. So, and I covered this before, and this is going to hit small businesses hardest first because you've got little pubs, little country pubs, little restaurants that had business rates of about 20,000 last year. Now they're finding that suddenly those business rates have doubled in a year. So this year, they're going to be paying something like 40,000 in business rates. They're not going to be able to absorb those costs and they're just going to fold. People are going to lose their jobs. And what it'll be little businesses that keep the big businesses afloat, that do the little jobs for big businesses. So the little businesses will fold. The big businesses will suddenly find out that they can't use the services of these little businesses. It's a knock-on effect. Then all of a sudden, the big business finds itself in trouble because it can't find the parts or the services anywhere else cheaper. Has a knock-on effect. So what you'll see is eventually, to cover costs, they'll shed their workload because that's what they always do. When companies face hard times, they get rid of employees. So you're going to see a sudden rise in unemployment after April as these things start to kick in. Then as the winter comes around again and energy prices go through the roof, you're going to see another knock-on effect. You're going to see lots of OAPs struggling to pay their bills. And like we saw a few winters ago, lots of OAPs are going to die. Lots of them. This is going to have a knock-on effect. And eventually, when this is going to start to affect people's homes because they'll lose their jobs, they'll no longer be able to pay their mortgage, then they'll start to lose their homes. Homes will start to get repossessed because of the actions of this government. And they won't be able to control it because all this government can do is keep doubling down on its ideology. It can't fix anything that goes against its ideology because they're dogmatic. You've seen it yourself. They just keep doubling down and doubling down, making the problem worse. And that's all they can do. That's the issue when you have a government that's run by ideology and not by logic. They can't logically look at a situation and think, right, we need to do this rapidly or this is going to happen. Ideology stops this government from doing that because they're communist Marxists. So they're just going to carry on doing it until they eventually run out of everybody's money. The economy tanks and all your money is worthless, or our money, should I say, is worthless. There was a story the other day, see if I can find it. There was actually a run on Barclays Bank the other day lots of people were taking their money out, and it crashed Barclays' banking system. There was a run on the banks. Now, you imagine if that happens all at once at every bank in the country. There's a run on the banks. People desperately try to get their money out before it becomes worthless. We've got that to look forward to yet. And this is what happens. So people keep saying, oh, you know, Keir Starmer's not going to resign. It won't matter. It won't matter in a bit if he resigns or not, because the country will just nosedive with these people in power. It already is. There is nothing that we can do about this apart from just sit back, get the popcorn out, and just watch the dumpster fire as it happens. That's all we can do. Right, guys. Should I take a look at this? So I'm just having a drink. I've got a really dry throat again. Oh, I seem to get a dry throat when doing live streams. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the link out into the chat because we're coming up on the hour mark, like I always do. I'll throw the link out. Anybody wants to come in for 5 or 10 minutes and have a chat, you can do. I'm always looking for new people to come in and chat. So don't be afraid. I've had quite a few subscribers do it lately that have come in, had a chat. New people. So I'll drop it here. If you want to come and have a chat, the link's in there now. If you feel like you want to come in for a chat, come in for a chat. You're most welcome to do so. In the meantime, I'm just going to read some of these comments. Then it won't be long before Starmer comes out with more methane because it's all he knows yet. NHS launched the app remote viewing from the hospital at home instead of in care. GPs get a bonus per patient, yet communism is here. Well, I had friends that worked the vaccination sites during the pandemic, and they told me that doctors were getting £15 an injection. Some of them were getting so much money, they were doing shifts by people coming through their doors, that some of them managed to buy brand new Audis with just from the money they'd gotten from getting paid for per injection. Let that sink in. I'm sure I saw someone that Starmer's likely to lose his seat. Yep. Apparently, the whole cabinet is. The whole cabinet is set to lose their seats. I think the majority of Labour MPs, I think the estimation is that they will have 8 seats by the time this is all done. If a general election is called, the Labour Party will only have 8 seats. I think the Conservatives are even less than that, 4 seats. So they're going to be consigned to political oblivion if a general election is called, which is probably why they all jumped in line when Keir Starmer threatened it. I'm too tired, would be slurring my words. It's okay, don't worry about it. Yep, on the average, they got 50,000 bonus per year. Wow. That's insane. All taking their opportunity at the trough medical. Oh, yeah. I also heard, right, and this is anecdotal, so take it with a pinch of salt. This is what I did. I can't verify it or prove it. But one of my security guard friends said that he overheard a doctor calling the people waiting outside to be vaccinated as the great unwashed. That's what the doctor referred to them as. So that's the opinion they have of the general public. Absolutely disgusting. If that's true, that's absolutely disgusting. And to be honest with you, with the way that the NHS is, I believe it because they're not professional. None of them are professional. Right, guys, if that's it, I'm going to call it a day on this live stream. Thank you for coming along. And I shall see you all soon in the morning walk video tomorrow. I'll just read out one more comment before I go. I'm furious. I get so angry channeling it. As for police constantly at my door, nutty neighbour thinks I'm ruffling plastic plants. Right, okay. Right, that's it, guys. Thank you for coming along. I shall see you all soon in the morning walk video tomorrow. Thank you for coming along. You're brilliant. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like the content. And I shall see you all soon. This is Vindicator, signing off.